and welcome to Tablebreakers. We are delving into steampunk for today's exciting discussion. My name is Bruce. This is my only hands account. With me, I have Baron G-Rock, St Rant of Khy, or St Khy of Rant, however that may be, Shadow and Sun, Connell, the Cigar DM, and Jaide from Jaide's Tabletop Tavern. My name is Bruce.
Cheers, everyone.
Hello, everybody, and here's our friends.
Hi.
So, must ask. This is hey. We got a chat room full of people actually.
I know.
Yay!
Let's try them all off.
Hello.
Quick, make them all go away by being boring and off topic.
All right. Well, let's. I understand that we're going to be talking about steampunk, and are we playing Iron Kingdoms? There's a really good trilogy of adventures that
I will be. No, next week I am not. Like, as much as I love Iron Kingdoms, I am not one who's going to run it. They are fantastic books. The trilogy is a fun read, fun to run through. But I'm more wanting to do something different, so I'm probably not going to run that because we don't have time to run that properly. So, but no, I've owned those books now for a good solid long time. I
just need to know what day you want me and Jaide to show up for Iron Kingdoms, and we will be there.
I will go to your house and run.
I believe there's a campaign starting in Illinois. It's going to be
Because
steampunk.
Jaide, we're going to your house.
Because my problem is my house is too small. I have no room to have friends over, so I must go to somewhere else.
Okay, so yes, this is a first printing.
Yes.
Now
I've had it since it debuted.
If I'm remembering correctly, the biggest complaint, and there's not that many complaints when it comes to that system, was it needed a better editor than what it had.
It needed some serious editing help. It really did.
It did.
Like, I love the world. I love the setting, the constantly at like Cold War status with certain countries, and the continual advancement of technology and magic and trying to marry the two, and then when the two don't get along it becomes disastrous. Like, I love that concept of it. And I also really love the healing and the fact that if you are of a different religion, the god of the religion of the healer does not like you. You are not getting healed today.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to playing a NIST Druid before. It was amazing. I had a great time with it.
Yes. God, did I even bother to save that picture, or what did I do?
I can cook.
Huh.
Oh.
No. Not that.
You misread that. Totally misread that, Connell.
Oh, I do live in Pekin. I can be that kind of cook.
No, you can't.
That's fair.
Well, we can't have nice things. So tonight we are going to be doing a deep dive into steampunk, and for one of the first times, I believe, we are going to have St Khy of the Rant Assisi.
Yes,
go ahead, and he is going to actually be moderating this topic for us. So, Khy, take it away.
Oh God, I know. Now I can't talk. I gotta be quiet. Let you guys do all the talking for me for once.
We've done that before.
What? No. No. But no, honestly, I think we kind of. Honestly, when it comes to steampunk, like one of those things about like, I'll hold on my opinion on this one. So you're asking a guy who's scatterbrained on how to actually what's going on here. So,
Wait,
I mean,
scatterbrain on this panel,
right?
No.
Right. No, as your host.
Oh no, that's never happened.
Right.
I know, right?
Okay. So anyway, let's open this thing up with like, what are some like what you would think to be like a key trait, a detail, or aspect that you think would go into what makes this an interesting genre, or what might be its failings? I'm not quite sure. Let's go with this, and so bringing the idea of no, I'll keep it open. So yes, what is this genre to you? Anyway, starting with Garrett, go. Sorry, with Barrett, go.
All right. Well, for me, it's when you're looking at things, it's a lot of gears, a lot of shiny things. Also, it's a lot of like industrial age type technologies that are spattered with a little magic and things that maybe to go bump in the night. That to me, that's kind of the feel and how when I look at steampunk, that's how I actually kind of picture it and see it.
All righty, follow around. Bruce, what do you got? What's your opinion?
If anything in steampunk has ever educated me on any one thing, protect your wizard. I played a lot of Iron Kingdom's skirmish game, War Machine. I played a lot of that. And then I played Hordes. And they're basically the same game. Just theming was a little different. But that's really one of those campaign worlds that, while there might be science and advancements and new stuff that isn't for sale in other campaign worlds, having a reliable wizard will guarantee the safety and continuity of that group you're in. That's the one thing steampunk taught me. Other than that, Iron Kingdom's RP and having the skirmish and the hordes and the War Machine stuff as background materials for another campaign I was in, it really taught me that breathing in the exhaust from those miserable machines is not a good idea. That's how you get bad coughs. That's how you prolong your wife's tuberculosis issues. It's just there's a lot of pollution that should be always relied on. You need to lean on that as a DM whenever you're describing the city streets. You want to say you put your hand up against the brick wall as you're waiting for the traffic to part so you can get across the street. And when you pull your hand back, your hand's covered in soot and ash. You need to do things like on that level. That's something I always like to do, just to emphasize how dirty it is.
Yes. All right. You good? All right. Follow clockwise here.
Oh, clockwise. Oh, okay. Oh man, what is steampunk to me? So, set the way back to machine to when I was a child. I read Jules Verne. I read H.G. Wells. So that was my first foray into what I believed at the time was, Industrial Revolution. It was Victorian era. It was steampunk. Like, you had all of these wonders and senses during the Industrial Revolution, and it was all steam powered or very close to steam powered. You also had the advent of electricity happening at that time. So to me, steampunk is this gritty, early industrial revolution era. And there is gunpowder or some kind of firearm mechanic going on. It's a dangerous era. Because people are exploited as manpower, and you have to kind of crawl your way out of the muck to elevate yourself in society. It's to me, it's also a dark period for the lowborn people, because even though they might be working at a factory, they don't live very clean or happy lives. A lot of them. They toil away in mines. They toil away at the factory. They come home, smelling of coal and smoke and soot, and they might have miners along. And as a character in a steampunk setting, I imagine that they're doing everything they can to escape that kind of life, literally everything they can, be it joining up with the armed services, be it joining up with Rough Riders, just to get out of the city and away from the factory life. You know.
All right. Let's see here. 1 second. One tab. Connell, what's your opinion here?
See, every time somebody brings up steampunk, my brain shifts into two different modes.
Okay.
We're talking about steampunk fantasy where there's you're in Cockney Britain, you know, with a thick Cockney accent, and you're at a bar, and there's, you know, an ogre's bitching about working at the dockyard. Or are we talking like a more scientific, more, you know, as 20,000 Leagues to the, you know, see those types. So my brain always kind of breaks off into two different thought processing on it. I mean, I read a lot of the same books that Jaide brought up. Those were requirement reading when I grew up, when I was in school. So that's kind of where I go.
Language is not our strong suit this evening.
Right.
You're all fantastic. Look,
but
are burnt and tired.
It's, what was that movie with Sean Connery? A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That to me is like that is the Hope Diamond of steampunk style movies. Then so you put that you make a world that's something like that. I'm not saying base it off the movie, but where you have heroes and villains that are well bred and well intelligent, well read, and all this good stuff, and you cram it down to a small little basketball, softball. Then you put in the pollution, the miner's luck, everything that's already been said, and you throw that on top of it. You shake it up, and you got a rocky rolled milkshake of the best best situation. To me, that's what steampunk is. It doesn't have to be high fantasy, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be high sci-fi. It has to have a nice middle ground where you could go to a pub and bounce into an ogre who's bitching about working at the harbor, or Nikola Tesla type character who is on the corner trying to sell his Tesla towers that, you know, light up your home.
Okay.
Yeah, I was all over there. I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead. That's okay. That gives you an idea of what you're working with in your mind. Gives me an idea of what I'm working with in what you got. And following up, Shadow, what you got going on here in your mind when you think about this, when you hear about this?
It's a genre I've really never played or refed unless Deadlands counts, and even then, our Deadlands games were more about six guns and monster slaying as opposed to the higher technological gadgetry. It honestly, it's pretty new to me. You know, obviously, I've read some of the novels that were discussed earlier, and you know, I've been exposed to it because I've been a gamer for 40 plus years. But as to actually playing it, I don't think I really technically have. But you know, more than willing to play along, just like all the other sessions we've gone through. I'm sure I'll learn a bit.
I hope not to be. I hope to be a decent teacher.
I'm sorry, what?
I hope to be a decent teacher in this, but we'll find out.
I mean, to be fair, I set the bar so damn low. All I can do is just step right over it.
If you don't mind, I'm wondering what the draw is versus all the other genres. You know, it's not the most popular genre out there. It's not the least popular genre out there. What's the draw for each of you guys?
I'll take this one first. For me, the draw of steampunk is that pre-industrial age, or just at the start of industrial revolution. The West, is still being won. So when I think steampunk, I'm thinking American industrial revolution. So I'm thinking mostly the eastern states, more so than the western states. But it's around the same time period as the Wild West. It's the same, because the advent of interchangeable parts, the steamboat races going up and down the Mississippi, including even the American Civil War. That to me is all still part of the steampunk era and steampunk genre. So you're seeing advancements in technology, and rapid advancements in technology. We're not stuck in a bygone era because people either don't know how to read, or they don't know how to, or they believe too fervently in a church that wants to keep them dumb and keep them subservient. We've broken free of that mentality, and we're advancing and exploring things at such a rapid pace that things are changing every day. You might see a horseless wagon, a horseless carriage going down the road one day, and then come back a week, and suddenly, now that horseless wagon or a horseless carriage is now there's 5 of them instead of just one. You come back in a month from now there's 30 of them. Everybody wants them. That to me is my draw for the steampunk, because I very much love advancements in technology. I think we in our today are living in one of the best eras of humanity, because we've advanced technology so rapidly and in such great directions, and some poor directions. We've done some pretty dumb things with our advancements. But at the same time, our technology just keeps advancing faster and faster and more. And the Industrial Revolution was the start of that. And we didn't stop. We just kept going. To me, the Industrial Revolution and steampunk is the hope for the future of making a brighter future. That to me is what steampunk is, my draw to steampunk.
Okay.
My draw to steampunk, if I can get my words out correctly, is the sense of wonder. Imagine you're from a small town in the middle of nowhere, a small village out of nowhere, and the city mouse versus country mouse story. You go into this large metropolis, and as the train that steam powered train is coming to a stop, you look around and you see blimps that are up in the sky getting pushed around by steam power, and there's machinery, robots, not like Star Trek, not Star Wars, none of the robots that we think of, but a steampunk style robot is just really cool, and there's a lot of meat to that bone that people just don't think about, because they're not. Steampunk did not get the same, in my opinion, treatment as other types of literature. It kind of got pushed, not completely to the back, but it's right behind Westerns. And getting somebody to read a Western anymore is kind of pulling fingers or teeth. I'm not saying it's good, not saying it's bad, but it's not what the role we want. So my draw is the imagination, because I'm not a dirt farmer that found a sword in the middle of his while I'm plowing the field. I'm going to a city and trying to find work and see where that leads me. It might lead me to a dock where I'm now on a sky ship catching lightning in a bottle, or whatever. It does not have the same clunkiness. It does not have the same walls that some fantasy has, because you can actually venture out. Your mind can think of things that could have happened in real life if we went left instead of right. If Tesla was left alone and Edison didn't step all over him. There's just a lot of cool things about it that draw me into it.
Well, with me, a lot of it is the melding of magic and technology, because in steampunk there is a lot of that. And you're talking about, like, with the robots, especially like the clockwork robots, the clockwork things that you need someone to maintain them and to keep them precisionally working. Also, if you think about the weapons you have, like, where you talk about lightning in a bottle. Well, that's what they shoot lightning.
Yeah.
At things. They throw fire, like Greek fire, out. And when I start thinking of like a steampunk, one of the things that I really think about is Space 1889.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're using these steampunk style airships to travel through the ether to get to another planet, and you're able to actually land on Venus, land on Mars, land on Mercury. Things that we know today, that's not going to happen. But you think about like Venus. Venus has got dinosaurs. It's just that type of thing. And also, you think about like Journey to the Center of the Earth, where there's an entire another core that's in there that and you can have anything in there, from dinosaurs to cavemen. It really is kind of one of those jump offs to pretty much anywhere you would want to go in a normal fantasy setting. And you could even get into, especially with that industrial revolution. You've said that a few times, but if you put that type of mentality behind making sure that you're going through and you're just plumbing through everything, because it's not that whole trapping of, well, science said this isn't possible. Well, it is possible, because guess what? Magic and science together say it is. So it's one of those things where you can actually just let go of the reality and substitute your own, to kind of put it in a Mythbusters type of saying. So, and that's a big thing, is being able to just let go of what you know now and just accept that this is how the world actually is here. Because when we think fantasy, we're thinking, we have it preconceived, with the medieval and everything else. Well, and yeah, it's just, yeah.
You get to throw horror in it too. I mean,
Yeah,
somebody
you could.
broke
You know what, though, guys?
Frankenstein.
I'm getting the impression that every one of you are talking about Earth.
It doesn't have to be Earth.
Yeah, I can literally count on one finger in 40 years the games that I've played that actually took place on Earth. And that's what I liked about role-playing from the get-go, is to get as far away from Earth as humanly possible.
What fueled the in the John Carter series? What fueled the flying ships?
That's a toughie. I'm still trying to figure that out to this day. It's a lot of nonsense.
Kai?
I don't know the answer to that one, but I have some other answers on the topic that to talk about up to this point, and I've been good holding my tongue for a whole 30 minutes. I'm good, but I want to talk about this too.
Talk about it.
Honestly, the thing about the Victorian era is that we're entering into a bigger, greater age. Prior to this point, travel was slow. I mean, you had to get on a sailing ship. You spent months on the sea. You didn't go anywhere. You're now looking at the age where communications is starting to actually shrink the world, but it's still huge. And radio exists, kind of. It's not reliable. You still have to have radio stations and weird transmission things. Steamships are starting to enter, paddle wheelers, steamships are starting to enter into the realm where now you can take it's only a week across an ocean that used to take a month. So it's like traveling to the new world. So now you have the idea of a sense of exploration that is now like the world is becoming bigger. Yeah, this is where horror starts to come back. But people mention horror. So now you're looking at a world like say you're looking at like a fantasy world that starts transitioning from the old ways into a way that we would recognize. Suddenly, you have people who are now bringing back stories in rapid succession. Weird perceptions, weird concepts are starting to happen. You have you're looking at a point of societal upheaval and change that, yes, you have the airships and the technology and the grime, but you also got to realize this is also a point of where people are where you're looking at the tail end of the age of nobility and of feudalism. Still, the idea of kings and queens and emperors are being questioned by people. You have the first rumblings of syndicalism, or what would eventually be known as socialism, starting to rear its ugly head. You have the idea of democracy starting to rear its very ugly head and causing problems across the globe. The old standards are starting to fall apart. Weapons are starting to get to outpace what society can handle. And you're not just running through the idea of this. So say you're dealing with, say, a fantasy world that's going into this idea. Suddenly you have like a 2,000, 3,000-year-old dynastic empire of elves, which is only actually 9 generations. But, they still got 9, 10 generations of guys who bore the crown who are now having, weird thoughts being brought in, weird weapons. Like, how do you handle the transition of empire? Plus, you have the ability now of kings and queens who are no longer having to depend on, well, luckily my governor, who's 6 months away, will rule in my stead. Now you have telegrams, and now you have the first hints of, no, I can rule from, I can rule from not London. I can rule from, I can rule the empire from Minas Tirith. I can do all this stuff from like the first sense of you have power projection that's starting to come into the situation in a way that you could not do it in a pre-industrial era. And now you have the first, like, yeah, we had merchants and merchants running around, but now you have the industrial tycoons. Like, we're in the golden era of the robber baron, and where people were just running over nations just to get resources. And these are the stories that you're being able to bring into it that you really couldn't have gotten with a more traditional, like, well, I have a guild, we have some resources, I have a merchant thing, we're a mercenary band, or where I gotta send a messenger by 6 months, but now you have some way of radio, telegraph channels, magic, and plus you have, and this is just from the material and science thing of looking at. Now take the idea that we're in the tail end of the age of reason. We're in the last throes of that. And can you imagine like universities turning their knowledge into what science is? Some weird guy goes, hey, this thing that shocks me is useful. 100 years later, we have electricity. Now imagine if you had that kind of brain power now at massive universities now going, so really, what is magic missile? What is the sending spell? And then you suddenly have the implications of people starting to ask questions of, what is mana? And then you might start seeing heretical ideas being pushed out, like a unified magical theory of, wait, can we reproduce what God did? And this is really what a lot of what, if you really got into it, like what Jules Verne, a lot of the early people were doing was they're trying to you got Frankenstein and H.G. Wells and all of these things. You're looking at people who are playing at or looking at controlling the fundamental forces of the universe, which, guess what? That sounds like magic, because it might as well be magic. And suddenly you have, and think of like, this is an era of the destruction of environments, of the world, to get resources. So you might see some massive, to go steal from, say, Exalted. Someone goes, I'm destroying a manse, a point of ley line, and I'm stealing its mana core, and I'm going to this giant materia rock, and I'm going to go plug it into this giant walking machine with this giant flying battleship. They're just like, now, mind you, some spellcasters are sitting here going, that's very critical. Please don't ruin that, and fuck you, gone. And now they've, so this massive ley line point is now destroyed. But now look at the abomination that's not going to bring horrors upon mankind. That's now flying across the sky or walking across the earth, and you're just sitting here going, the unrivaled terror of what mankind can do, and what it can unleash, like what civilization can unleash upon itself, especially in a fantasy world which has been so used to mankind not being the apex predator, because we're not. Open your monster manual and you'll see that we are not the apex predator. And now look at what we would do if we turned our mind to it. The forces of nature, magic, chemicals, biology, all of this, and now you're putting it in with the unethical nightmares of what people did in this era, in this age. Sorry, that's the appeal for me.
That's a lot to cover, Kai.
Sorry, it's my topic. It's the setting that I run. I mean, this is the shit I explore, and most people just kind of go, "I'm here to make money," and I'm like, "Yes, you are."
Steampunk is the beginning of the era of true hope after so much ages of dark ages. You had the Renaissance happen, but then after the Renaissance there was a big period of nothing. There was a big period of exploration, but as far as advancements in civilization go, there isn't a lot. It's very sparse. People just make do with what they have. To me, steampunk is an industrial revolution as well with it, is the era of that glimmering hope. Everyone has a chance. Everyone can improve their situation through technology, or through understanding and knowledge. So to me, like, it represents an era of both exploration and of hope. And yes, Renaissance did have massive changes. And it was the beginning of the, I think, second age of exploration. But after the Renaissance had ended, there were some advancements here and there, but collectively we kind of stepped back, or we became stagnant for a while, until we hit that streak of industrial revolution. And then we started advancing so much faster at such a rapid pace that people like the common man could not keep up with everything that was happening.
No.
Things were being invented that people thought, no, there's no such thing as a wagon that runs itself. No, you're pulling my leg. And if transferring that over to an RPG game, is just taking the lid off the cap of anything to your imagination. Not to quote Willy Wonka, but candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. Well, that works with steampunk too. The drinking part. Wait, no, that's not right. But unleashing the unchaining the imagination and think, okay, this is how a gun works. A gun works, and from beginning to end. What if steampunk got a hold of it? What would it look like? Would it be, would have changed? Would it still be a flintlock, or would it be gears, or how would the imaginary gear get thrown into there? And I was living in Nashville, Tennessee, and they had a steampunk convention.
I'm sorry.
I was drooling half the damn time.
I'm sorry.
I mean, but in steampunk genre, you have the rapid advancements, but it's not just about the war aspects of it either. It's the advancements of modern life, of civilization.
But it's coming at a. Oh, sorry.
Oh, good. No, go ahead.
No. But the thing here is that the one thing you got to remember is that that you're playing in a punk mentality. It's not just that it's all these amazing wonders, and yes, there are amazing wonders. But it's coming at a horrible price. The pollution, the cost of the environment, the waters that, rivers that catch fire because someone spilled, I lit a cigarette wrong, people dying, it's that point of where do you fit into a world that's changing faster than what the people in charge would like it to be? Because you're looking at the idea of you're right, it is hope, that first chance of something better, but you have to get past the entrenchment of the older aristocracy, the older oligarchies, and the older powerhouses that are wanting to control that and control you. They control the means of communication, the means of transportation. They control the weapons of mass destruction, and you are eking your way out of it. No matter if you're playing steampunk, diesel punk, which is just the same, which is at that point prohibition with diesel and gas powered engines, or if you're playing atomic punk, you're the rebellion against the control of the of authority and the government, or cyberpunk, which is just you trying to survive in the oppression of that government. No matter what you're doing, it's the oppression of the powers that be and of the world, and how you're eking out your survival in it. It's a world of amazing wonders, but how do you endure in it? How do you move up in it? Do you do it through official channels? Do you do it through the government? Do you go off into new lands and conquer unwitting poor savages and oppress their culture so that way you can make an end? Do you put down entire districts? Do you pollute an entire country to line your pockets? Do you join the army and go let a king or a president tell you to go murder someone because you're getting a paycheck and you're going to see new places and travel on awesome steam-powered warships, or on an airship? You're seeing new parts of the world and killing them and taking their shit. This is the end stage of colonialism. This is the point of nationalism, where it's not just simply I'm from this area, I can travel to the next kingdom who's two hexes over, 24 miles. Now this is I get on a train, I travel for 4 hours, I'm in the next industrial shithole, but don't worry, I traveled past and looked at all those pretty areas that I can look at and go, good farmers, keep farming, and then keep traveling on to the next place. And it's the first creeping stages of something that you didn't get in older eras, which is if you didn't like the kingdom, if it was stupid, you can just travel to the next kingdom over. Now you're looking at, I don't like this kingdom. I need to travel by a steamship for the next 3 months to an uncharted shithole to find a way to get away from the powers of the third Bourbon Republic today that's currently running France, or not France, the Malsane Empire. If it's my world, the Malsane Empire or the Yukon Confederation or some horrible new nation who's just sitting here going, our tendrils expand across the world. Yeah, you have mercantilism, but it's a weird sense of how hard will you fight to be an individual in this world? Sorry, I'll be quiet now.
No,
Well, no, you got to ask us the next question.
Oh shoot! I got questions. No! God,
Shadow, what you got?
Like, hijack it from me, quick! Oh, no.
Shadow, you look like you wanted to say something.
No, I'm still waiting to be convinced, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, it's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to be convinced, honestly, because it's not for everyone. Because this is a weird period of time.
Well, because maybe I'm in a unique position as never using Earth or playing in the equivalent of a galaxy where I'm almost never playing or reffing the same world, for more than a couple of sessions, and it's on to a new world. So it's always changing. So everything you guys have said is already there somewhere, if you know what I mean. Like one planet may have something you discussed, but then the next planet is totally different, and then another planet, and that's not to say that I'm always playing, sci-fi. I've got 20 plus fantasy worlds that my players may, pop in on, that I've, written out and what have you. I've got more because I run a galaxy as my sandbox, if that makes any sense.
Right. So you have the benefit of, you had the plan of the week idea where this is you're here for a short amount of time. Enjoy this, and then the story moves on. For some people, and the thing is that this is a small era. This is and honestly, it's a small period of time. This is about, steampunk covers on average, about a 40-year period of time.
I'm going to say,
about 40, 50 years. So it's like from about 1870. So the early, like mid 1860s, early 70s to the start of the First World War. To use out, and the thing is, we use Earth as an example because most of us know our history. Hopefully,
not this guy.
Not you, or who?
This guy,
right?
That guy right there. Shadows.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
I'll admit I was not a fan of. Oh, go ahead.
My son can talk circles around anybody when it comes to history, and he did not get it from me. It's just
history wasn't my strong suit either. It was definitely math and science.
Well, you're all missing one crucial thing that hasn't been brought up about the steampunk. I want to move on to the concept of the green fairy.
Okay. Elaborate for me, please.
Now, for those who know what the green fairy is, it is a drink. It was made out of wormwood and a few other things that
absinthe.
And it was a popular drink during that era. It's still a popular drink. I've lost a couple days off of that drink. And I believe it came out during the steampunk era, very much during that era of time.
Victorian era? No, absinthe wasn't created during the Victorian era. It did become more popular, but it had been around for, I think, a solid couple centuries before that.
I have to look into it because the stuff we get here in America is nothing like what you get over in Europe. But no, I can't imagine. I can't tell you how many different drawings of steampunk you got the woman in her corset that has gears that have like wings in the background where the wings move up and down because of the gears, and it's a bar picture, but it's a beautiful picture. Damn it, they have a mahogany bar, wooden bar, mahogany. Say it with me, mahogany.
Rich velvet mahogany.
And there is the
Great desk.
apparatus. There is the apparatus that serves the absinthe, and everything you need to know about steampunk is right there.
I would also argue that a good bourbon or scotch will also be an acceptable drink for this era too.
Right, but
I just got a message on my Discord, and one of my friends is like, "Hey, Shadow just said that he's in and out of places all the time. Steampunk gives you a lot to explore, and whenever you're talking about, we have just shrank the world by magnitudes we don't fathom, we don't understand it. Because before it was the providence of wizards, and they could tell you how big the world might be or how many teleport spells might take them to get around the planet, or what have you. But whenever we can start letting the common layman get behind the wheel of an airship or the yoke of a funny propellered flying machine, and we can let them use their gumption and their wits and allow them that, it would offer you a payoff, a huge payoff. Maybe not you yourself at the table, but your character would be given accreditations beyond measure if he was one of the few, the proud, the adventurers. That to me would be, it's the question basically is like, why would you not want to go and explore that whenever, we just got these brand new flying contraptions, we just got these new devices, they allow us to do 70 miles per hour and a flanking speed of 92 miles per hour in tests. And to me, that would be like the reason why you want to stay with that system and play with science fiction or science possibility or science as it may have been. You want to try to figure out more of that world, or at least I would. I would want to know, what can I do with this world? Because this world's now opened up, and Providence is capable by anyone who just has the wherewithal to go out and grab it. And that, to me, speaks volumes about the mindset that you got going into the 1870s. The age of the adventurer. You have Jacques. What was the guy's name that he was doing the around the globe in 80 days? Was that Cousteau?
Oh God!
He flew around in a fucking balloon.
The undersea explorer, right?
What?
Say again?
Jacques Cousteau, the undersea explorer.
Yeah, but who was the explorer that flew around the world in 80 days?
That'd be Jules Verne's book.
Yeah, that was a Jules Verne novel.
Phileas Fogg.
Yes.
There you go.
So you have this brave new mentality where if you're willing to go out there and risk your nuts to go do it, or ovaries if you're female. Thank God for Amelia Earhart. She before Counselor Deanna Troi crashed the Enterprise, there was Amelia Earhart. Anyway, you have the opportunity there for you to try. And most of humanity was not afforded that before that point. So 1899 and 1879 RPGs kind of make for a reason as to why you would want to, in my opinion.
And the ability to go see work, to also by land, and go see parts of the world that you would normally not be able to by horse or by boat, by foot. So it's like, which is why you get Murder on the Orient Express happening. And so the idea of traveling across a continent without having a wizard blinking 1,000 miles out of your trip. It's like, wow, London to Moscow in 6 seconds, or it's but you miss everything. Now you have a lot of stops, so you can suddenly get a lot of cultural differences and mixing that you can't get through just a simple. You get to have a culture clash without having to go. You have traveled into the Elven Kingdom. You only get to see elves for the next by foot for the next 500 miles until you exit the forest of the elves. But now you get to have a little bit more interaction between countries, cultures, attitudes. Suddenly you have, if your game is a very Western-centric game, you can now start to bring in a few more alien elements without having it be the mysterious, weird one guy who came off by boat, or we crash landed in, our boat sank somewhere Plus, you also look at the idea of this is if you're not looking at like a Earth analog, you can still play with the idea of the ether. So the idea of, well, we have airships, like, you have the John Carter moments or the Space 1899 mentality of, well, science isn't said there's a void yet, and now you get to go off into the void engineers for those Mage Ascension players out there are still going to go, my massive void ship could go out to go explore Mars. And we are going to encounter now aliens that are still on Mars. You can still actually have, well, and the Germans are colonizing Venus for their evil imitation wood. Evil Germans. Or evil bad people. Space orcs are out there, flying around on asteroids that are powered by, weird, horrible chemical engines, and they're you get to have, like, this is where Spelljammer actually makes sense instead of where, like, this is the setting where Spelljammer makes sense, where the idea of we're going out into the, like, we haven't quite yet figured out, and the thing is, whatever weird thing that you think is just on the cusp, why not roll it out? It's like, we have the benefit of hindsight, so we can have anachronisms aplenty show up, because why the hell not? But just gotta remember, everything is bigger, clankier, noisier, and inefficient. So there's like a few people, like, nobody's gonna. Was that?
Just laughing.
And inefficient. Oh, okay. That's
It's
a hell of a
totally
selling pitch you got there, my friend.
Okay. When I say you have a car, okay, you think today modern high performance car, or perhaps say a Jeep, where it's like it's nice, it's sleek, it's interesting. No, you got to think about it's a truck, but it's powered by a wood burning steam engine. It's not fast as we would know it, but it's suddenly giving you the ability to have a vehicle. Yeah, you have, like, excuse me, I want to go out to go out on a drive. Go out there, fire the boiler up, and in 30 minutes we'll go on a trip. And we'll go at a blistering 30 miles an hour, which to somebody who's on horseback, that's fast. To a culture who's only thought about speed being simply how fast a horse can run, suddenly you're going, I can go for more than 40 miles in a day. I got to stop for more fuel and more water, but you have the first logic of this, the first idea of a high-speed train, 80 miles an hour. An early cobbled together Zeppelin, or you can have a big, the idea they've had some more time to refine it. Early Zeppelins, flight speed, still slow by our standards, but it's not slow by their standards. So you get to have the idea of it's fast-ish. But you got to stop every once in a while. It gives you room to have weird adventures happening. Suddenly, like, I realized that the storm clouds are actually powered by storm crows. Oh fuck, storm crows! And what are storm crows? It's freaking. This is freaking steampunk era. This is weird things that we haven't realized. And now you guys have the ability to think about what we managed to do at this period of time. The North Pole or the South Pole were alien environments. Now you can actually go there. These are so much more that can be done here. I'm sorry. I'm done now.
That's the level of delving that's good, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In my game world, because I have run the Industrial Revolution of my game world multiple times now, and Connell's actually been in this game. My game world is very steampunk driven and very steampunk centric during the era I normally like to play in. But it's not like the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. It's about midway through. We're talking like end of the 1900s our time, almost World War I era. So you have advanced weaponry, you have locomotives. The next town isn't a day's walk, it's a 10-minute vehicle ride. The capital isn't a month's journey anymore, it's 1 week by train, or just a few days by airship. You know, and the other advancements that, you know, when I say they had more advanced weaponry, like guns and such, wizards stopped going out to places because the edges of the map had been filled in. They had explored their entire nation. The only things left to explore was what's out in the ocean. You know, what's on top of that mountain. Well, we can actually get up to that mountain now. We've got airships. We can get up there. And the other aspect is, like, wizard colleges fundamentally changed away from just, oh yes, be up there in your wizard's tower with your spell books. No, put your magic to practical application and use. So in my game world, the nation that really embraced the Industrial Revolution put their wizards to work, you know, developing new technologies for the common man. And one of the developments was they went from smoothbore firearms to fully rifled firearms in about 10 years. Because they had a high enough level wizard in the country to cast Time Stop to watch the movement and the ball coming out of the smoothbore as it was traveling. And they could figure out, oh, it's traveling in such a weird way that we can actually see where it's going to impact. How can we improve it? Yes, there you go. Armored Trains.
A book written by a Frenchman. The entirety of Armored Trains.
So, you know, the country that, you know, I mostly start that game or that world era game in is the most advanced within the world, because the country embraced, instead of like rejecting the ideas of the Industrial Revolution and wizards going, why would I want to spend my time working on some steam powered mechanism? They're like, hey, no, I don't have to spend magic to light my fire anymore. It's just a turnkey. I don't have to spend magic to teleport schmucks that, you know, want my assistance from here to the capital in less than a day. They can just go take the train. So people had more time to do things because they had more conveniences in their life. They could actually go do things. And I didn't say rifles. I said rifling, the actual cut into the barrel that puts the spin on the round, not the rifle itself. You know, as I was saying, they went from smoothbore, like musket, muzzle loaded weaponry to cartridge ammo within, I think, 15 years. But they were experimenting with rifling the actual cut barrels within 10 years of the first firearm being produced in my game. Wasn't effective beyond 10 feet. You're right. Smoothbore wasn't very effective beyond 10 feet. And then that's, you know, why the barrels got so long. That's why, you know, people started trying to figure out what's happening to this object that we can't see leave the gun, you know, after we fire it. Yes, the rifle does go back to the 1600s, but the rifling, the cuts in the barrels wasn't 1600s. At least not from the material I've read, unless you have material that I don't know. You know, if you know, Manal, if you'd like to provide me some links to that, I will gladly read up on that.
So, Shadow, I want you a picture that there's a train, and it's not the Back to the Future train, but it's not the modern train though either. It's somewhere in between. And you hear a loud mouth, a dwarf yelling at it. As you walk into the room, you see he looks up at you, and he's got glasses that have magnifying glasses going, you know, at least like 3 inches away from his face, yelling, "Human components, the known components, bam, 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 all made by stinking elves." You know, that's.
Yeah.
Gnomes. All made by gnomes, not elves.
All made by gnomes.
Great, don't work. Damn it. Curse you.
Me? What did I do?
Suddenly, everything in my gnomes, it don't work no more. I hope I'm not happy no more.
That is the way.
How dare you ruin my joy by saying gnomes are responsible for everything?
Oh, no. I ran campaigns where gnomes are the ones who created war forges.
Okay.
No
terrified now.
spiraling grooved musket barrels.
But
Hey,
Steampunk.
Cam. How you doing, sir? I like the idea of a steampunk world. I like the idea. Maybe something maybe not a lot of us have done yet, to where we've had time evolve in our campaigns. Kai's talked about this a few times, but how many of us really think about, like, oh, well, we're starting a brand new Forgotten Realms campaign, or we're starting a brand new Greyhawk campaign. All right, well, what are we doing? It's Greyhawk, so just open up the equipment guide and burn your gold on that there. You didn't advance the timeline? Well, no. Why? We played that game for 3.5 years. Our characters were in their teens for levels, and they were getting high level. Is a campaign starting over? Did nothing happen? Is there nothing that sticks? Did you advance the timeline? And that's something that a lot of people don't do with their games. They don't advance the timeline to where, like, you'll have this country over here develop rifling, and this country down here just got to cannonballs. And if you keep advancing the timeline, eventually with tech, it's supposed to advance in various countries, right? It would
Absolutely.
make it. How many of these games have we played to where instead of us advancing the tech 1 or 2 steps per new start for the campaign, or every 12 adventures we do something new starts to happen, because the colleges are feeding the scientists and professors a large amount of addictive muse items, if you catch my drift there. How many people
I've
advance
actually
their
been doing
campaign?
that for a very long time, Bruce. That's why all of my D&D worlds aren't like stuck in the Middle Ages, that feudalistic society, because I came up with that conclusion many years ago.
I got you.
Even with magic, the tech level would go up.
I want to hear more about this, Shadow. What did you?
Hold on.
When you advanced that,
first.
what was the first thing that you advanced? What was the first thing you let the players discover that technology had improved beyond the player's handbook? Because this is something a lot of game masters don't know about.
I'm gonna let Kai go first, but I've got a real quick, simple answer. But go ahead, Kai.
I know we've been focusing on the march forward, but since we're playing in fantasy realms that are full of things that, like, we had the Luddite movements here. Can you imagine what the complications that would come for of people resisting the inevitable march of progress forward? I had a player who hated it, utterly hated the fact that over the course of 4 campaigns, he watched the world grow, evolve, and change, and was heading towards the world that is, because the player himself hates our current modern world. He hates what it's done to us and what our culture has become. And he was detesting watching players making terrible decisions that were invoking the idea of the inevitability of ending up in the misery that is today. He saw as a chance, as going, I know where the end of the road of this leads to. I know the misery, the despair, and the chaos that it's going to invoke when this happens. So he spent an entire campaign orchestrating an apocalypse, a global cataclysm, to destroy modern civilization, so that way he could reset the clock. He knew he wouldn't stop it. He knew he was just restarting it because I am buying the magical world a century or two to prepare and regroup for when the industrialists resurge and come back. So the idea of him of exploring the idea that some people might not want the progress that we are going towards, and that wants to overthrow empires and colonies and factories and giant horrible who hate the idea of the soot-covered cities and the children being sent to the factories, of the industrialization of war and death and murder and the guy who did it literally goes, when he saw players pull out a rifle and gun down a monster that should have, like, a D&D monster that should have obliterated the party, he watched this commoner open fire with a bolt action and drop this mighty beast. And that's the point when that player stopped and went, we've gone too far. And then asked the question of, how do I stop this? These are some of the stories that we could explore as GMs, is that question of, what if somebody powerful goes, no, I don't want this. And, it's like we always have fantasy worlds where, like, powerful dragons, arc demi-liches, horrible creatures who literally can warp reality, looking at the growing mass of humanity and go, what can I do to delay, stop, or direct this? These can lead to interesting stories and plot lines that we don't get to normally explore. Is, of course I want to have, a heat metal object creating a continuous energy boiler that makes a super train. But what if somebody goes, I don't want your train, and decides to, alter the landscape because they still have traditional magic and warp, the world. You now have a wonderful story of how does a world that already has this resist or adapt to the change, because inevitably you can't stop it, or maybe you can. And I said, these are plot lines that you can explore, and suddenly, your ivory tower wizards, technocratic union wizards who are sitting here trying to better the world for the common man, suddenly have to go contend with, what if all the hippie druids go, fuck your cities, fuck your trade routes, screw your steamship, because I'm going to summon an iceberg in front of it. Where did it come from? I'm a druid. This is what I do. Rogue wave, I can do that. And so it's like you're having to figure out this fight over reality that you could be having. Like, maybe you have industrial cities that are fortresses because the natural world, to go pull a little bit of like Princess Mononoke out here, or any of the or any Miyazaki film here, the idea of you have bastions of civilization and progress, and then the wildlands that are still fighting very, very hard against this. And suddenly you might have the idea of people might distrust a druid even more, because the druid is unless it's like a druid walking into town and like, what are you wanting here? And they look at you and go, I hate this place. I hate everything about it. It stinks. It's everything that's wrong with the world. And then, so you can now have entire classes or people who are rebelling against the inevitable progress of the world, and thus creating more interesting drama and stories that you could be running. Okay.
So Bruce, what I did was, and you should dig this. I made the dwarves in my my main Dungeons and Dragons type world be the creators and innovators of things like black powder and coal. Seeing as how in my world there are no dwarven wizards, there's some dwarven clerics, but for the most part, their realm of expertise is making things. Sure, there's gnomes out there, but I've literally never had a single player ever want to run a gnome. So I never put a whole lot. I'll put them on the map, but people don't give a shit, and it never comes into play. So dwarves,
because
dwarves
well, no, I
created-
mean you run a lot of Arduin, and I was thinking like if you could get a table of Arduin players for like 10 years, half as long as your second ed game. If you could just get them to sit down for Arduin for that half that length, how would your game advance? What would be like the first technology that you would advance? Do you have
well, right off the bat, Arduin is more of a supplement and world setting as opposed to a game engine.
Okay.
And I've run people with, in games with a lot of Arduin influences. I don't know how you, anyways.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's really just kind of a subtle flavor that you add to it, to a campaign or, a game setting or so it's not really perceivable unless the players are big time owners of those books, and I've only met a few people who ever owned those books. Hold on. So what did the black powder and coal do? What bonuses? What items? Well, I was trying to see. Basically, I do a lot of naval campaigns, and sure, catapults and ballistas are nice, but for me, nothing says pirates like cannons. So I want cannons on my ships, and to get cannons, you need black powder. So I went that route, and believe it or not, the dwarves actually had the equivalent of the first subway system, which was, I guess, kind of steampunk-ish, way back, long ago, but most people don't know about it. They hear rumbling in the mountains, and they think it's dragons or giants or something like that. What could the dwarves do that other races couldn't? It wasn't that they couldn't, is it that the necessity being the mother of invention, dwarves needed an edge. Dwarves needed something besides just lots of hit points to keep up with the magical races and the magical things that people had. And I figured I'd give them, the blessing of technology and the mindset to constantly want to be innovating and creating new things as opposed to just being, stubborn, masses of hit points and battle axes. I wanted to give them a little bit, develop them a little differently than most people did. So in that respect, I guess they had a lot of, because I didn't want to get to, power lines and electricity and things like that as my planets were, or that particular planet was evolving. So I did, arbitrarily stunt its growth and prolong its technological advance because not everybody was in a big hurry to start, making newfangled gadgets. Otherwise, eventually, if you're not careful, you will, like I said, have a game that's no longer remotely fantasy. It's gonna, traditional fantasy. It's gonna start cruising into the realm of science fantasy, and I got plenty of that. There are people who still want to, have the trappings of a medieval fantasy game, even if it arbitrarily or artificially been stunted to stay there. Because let's face it, some people in power would want to keep those advancements and keep their people under their thumbs.
True. Okay. Anybody in the chat want to ask anything while we're on the current topic? Because I think there's somebody else in the chat that they want to advance the series of questions for St Khy and others that are really into steampunk.
Can I
go ahead?
I want to add something really to you quick. I think it's interesting. I don't think it's interesting. I plan on running it. I'm running the module Rise of Rune Lords. They came out to a sequel to that game called Return of the Rune Lords.
Yeah, I have that series.
And I'm curious, because I haven't had actual chance to look at it, I'm curious if talking, bringing up what you're talking about, if things progress or if you're just stuck with the same old shit that you were 50 years ago, or however long the timeline is. Because I think
the way it's written, Connell, Return of the Rune Lords does not advance the timeline. In fact, you could run every single Pathfinder 1 adventure campaign and do it sequentially. Nothing changes at the game, at the inflation level. You don't have a real amount of world change that happens. A lot of the adventure paths are very bland, and the very end boss is a very nasty person, but he often or she often does not provide a real threat level.
Oh shit, that's disappointing. Never mind.
Well, the other thing I remember about a lot of these adventure paths is that, again, we could come back to travel time and distances between where they all happen at in the world. You could run an entire campaign of Kingmaker, and you're only in a small, tiny part of the world, especially when you look at the map. And you travel for many, many weeks, and you've traveled a good distance, and you're still in a tiny part of the world. If you run Rise of the Rune Lords, say you fail horribly, and this part far over here explodes, and a horrible, some kind of horrible demon reaches up there and pulls any adventure path. You fuck up real bad, a demon, eats an entire city. You might not find that, and somehow you're playing in a linked world. Dear God, help you! It's forgotten. It's not Forgotten Realms. Or discount Forgotten Realms off Wish, and say you're playing somehow, Iron Gods, Shackles. Was it Shackles and Skulls? I forgot which one that one is called.
Skull and Shackles.
Skull and Shackles, and somehow running Kingmaker all at the same time, and somehow you blow up a major city to the far north. It might be a year or two before anybody finds out that some demons ate a town. Really? What town? This town. I never heard of the place. And you've had your entire campaign happen before. One of the last things you hear at the very end of the campaign, you've managed to defeat whatever it is, some horrible boss, or you've prevented the return of something horrible, and then some guy rides up and says, Cincinnati was eaten by demons. Where is Cincinnati?
Gotcha.
And that's the problem when you're playing in a world that travel So we send a wizard out there. The wizard spends 5 days teleporting out there, finds out, oh yeah, there's a big hole in the ground, and then teleports back. And the thing is, but now but say you're running a similar event, but you have travel happening where now you're traveling, say, a slow speed of 120 miles per hour. A rather slow aircraft actually, or a fast Zeppelin. And it can do that 120 miles per hour nonstop. And suddenly it's in 3 or 4 days, you can now have a party of arriving and finding, not Cincinnati on fire with holes and demons popping out. And word might have actually gotten out that, hey, player group D failed really badly, and now the world's on fire. Now people can find out.
I mean, I've always been not that I want, because I always want to play the big damn hero or the big damn bad guy. Depends on what the campaign is. But there's times in other campaigns where I wondered if we would have went left instead of right, what would it look like in 100 years? Would it be a steampunk version, or would it be a,
And the thing here is that that's the fun part, is that you sit down and think about what would happen if things went left or right. It's this is the kind of thing though that requires, this is the genre that requires a little bit of sit down and thought behind it. Because there's a lot of branching paths. It's in an earlier era, you really don't have the kind of branching paths that you have if you think about this time period and then moving forward. It's you always got to think about what is the implication that comes from, say we're going to run the transition into this era. It's Steam Power didn't start everything, because there's a large period of time. Like if I wanted to start where the Steam engine comes into things, or say I decide to not use Steam, we go fantasy, a little bit like a mana based engine, a Magitech engine, or Magicite, or something weird is being powering it, or
Unobtainium.
yeah, Unobtainium. It was like magical power source B has been discovered, and it's like there's a long, slow period actually that goes from I want to pump out a mine shaft, and this is a slow moving self-driving minecart that pulls, and here's a boat that. Why would I want to put a burning vessel underneath a wooden deck and make ship move? To guy goes, wow, breakneck speed of 40 miles per hour, and then to what eventually it's slow to get moving, but then it picks up once the momentum grows, it goes faster, and it's like because it's not just simply that. You also got to think about metallurgy that has to okay, iron isn't cutting it, pressure and temperatures are getting higher, we need to have new forms of this. So of course this pushes more into science. Now think about how magic might be helping this along, where suddenly if you have wizards who are now going, wizards and clerics going, I'm not against this anymore, knowledge bad, this is the domain of the gods. Now starting to ask questions of how can I magically help? And now the ball can either stop moving really quick early or speed up faster. And so you might not get Krupp steel or laminate steel. You might get an adamantine, steel alloy that does something better than what we've got in our world, where you might have wizards who are sitting here going, the final step of quality assurance is sitting here casting magic to fix welds. So you might bypass riveting. So welding might actually be, advanced spells joining together materials and then using magic to reinforce it in ways that could make things into directions we've never contemplated, but could be fun to think about. What would people take a base application like heat metal? We all know the heat metal. You take the spell permanency on it. It's now a permanently boiling hot water. Well, what is a nuclear engine? A really advanced way of boiling water. What's steam engine? What's steam boiler? A really advanced way of boiling water. Mankind's technology has released new ways of boiling water, and so now you have, so you have weird logic that you can actually follow these paths. And this is only just one path you got to worry about. The whole lot of different things that are all happening at this period that, sorry, this is a long topic. I'm sorry.
Well, we actually have a question down here, Pat.
Oh, okay. What's the question? I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
It's on screen.
It's on the screen. Oh, it was on the screen.
Was.
Let's see here. It was. There you go. Have we talked about how guns, swords, and armors would look in a steampunk world?
Honestly, at that point, I probably, depending on how much money you're willing to invest in it, because look at some of those beautiful guns that. This is ornamentation. Think about the engraving, the inlays, and so you might get some of those Turkish or insanely overwrought ceremonial beautiful weapons that most of us would go, I would never touch it, but some lord goes, I have more money than brains, I'm going to spend this. And so you might have the common basic man only having it's blued steel, I'm okay with this, to somebody spent 100 man hours just hammering very delicately into this. and putting the filigrees and the inlays and all the beautiful flourishes that we've seen on some, on some six-shot revolvers. You'd probably like swords depend on the culture. It's like, if your culture is really into cavalry, you might see the single-edged curved blades floating around. If they're more into, it all comes down to how you want to think about it, because you don't have to have embraced the all officers are carrying some form of cavalry saber. You could, there could still be people who go, no, we like our culture kind of we prefer dueling rapier. So rather than one edge cutting blades, we went with more slashy stab, light stabby weapons. Or you might have it all comes down to how you want to portray that culture and how its values are reflected into its weapons. So if you got practicality, it might just be machine stamped, horrible, dear God, this is gross. Or you could have a culture who goes, we don't want mass production. Everything is handmade, hand forged, bored out perfectly. Everything by master artisans, dwarves, elves, some humans. I mean, yeah. I understand, but
that is horrifying.
But the thing here is that we don't really have what liquid do we have access to? Water, boil water, big steam, steam good, like steam. That's the whole genre. Big steam, magic steam, infernal steam, glowy steam. I don't care. It's on the steam. I want to walk into a room and hear a horrifying triple expansion engine just thudding. These huge fucking cylinders just thudding down there, and you're sitting here ringing bells so that way you can tell the other end of the engine room, hey, we're fucking going up to speed, start building up pressure, and hearing people going, fuck, okay, bam, bam, and then just this horrible noise, the racket of it. I want that horrible, and then it's like, well, I just cast silence. Oh, good. Now nobody can hear anything, and nobody's talking. We're all just talking in hand signals, and we don't have fucking sign language yet, except for the drow. Fuck them. And because they have.
I see the glaring gap in my education. I was under the misinterpretation that rifling hadn't been developed until 18th century or 19th century. In fact, it actually had been developed in the 1500s. It didn't become commonplace until the 1900s or until the 1800s. So thank you, Omen, for pointing out the glaring error within my education. I have since fixed that.
Well, you're talking about, depends on how much money the landowners or the barons want to put into their weapons, into their stuff. There was a book. It was one of those educational books I had as a kid. It had a lot of different topics, but one of them was weapons over the decades. And I remember seeing a knife and fork and spoon set that had a miniature gun attached to it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Okay.
I mean,
I've seen Stranger, but that is kind of weird.
Well, this, sorry, Mom, your soup is a little bit too spicy. Click, boom. I mean, what the hell?
Wow. A little dark there. No, so as far as the previous question goes, how does swords and let's see, where was that? How do guns, swords, and armors look in steampunk world? While I have allowed gun swords at in my game, I don't like them per se, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, gun sword. I'm like, yes, how Final Fantasy 8 of you. But the impracticality of
They did actually exist in the real world to an extent.
They did. They were just highly impractical.
They're good for two shots.
Yeah, pretty much.
So they were.
I would have rather had the detachable bayonet rather than a gun sword. Granted, how many people were actually, killed by bayonet versus gunshot in World War One. You would find a lot of people were injured by gunshot, but were finished off by bayonet. Same thing
you got to admit, though, once you've got that blade in like a big bad monster, being able to hit it with a 12 gauge round at point blank range is kind of a no-brainer.
I mean, if people are going to mimic characters off Final Fantasy, they just need to do it properly. The only one you need to mimic is Vincent Valentine. Everybody else can go fuck off a bridge.
The Cerberus weapon. No, so largely armor. Armor in my steampunk world starts to get thinner and go away. Actually, you don't have the knights riding around in full plate. They might have parade plate, but it says it's exactly what it says on the tin: parade plate. Because the concept of warfare has changed in that time period, or at least in that era of my game, because people don't want to be lumbering around in plate mail or in chain mail or scale mail, because that if you're moving slow and not taking cover, that's going to get you killed. It's not the concept. And I ran in 3.5. I ran the guns attack touch armor class, not your standard armor class, because the weapon didn't care about your armor. It was within its first range increment, it would punch right through metal. It just didn't matter.
I remember multiple conversations about you on mechanics of a game. Not so much arguments, but not heated conversations, but fairly rowdy conversations. With 3.5, if I had a gun, it had the ability of exit wound. Because in my mind, if I'm shooting you with a gun, that bullet should punch, at least if I hit you in the right area, it should punch right through you.
It depends on what the bullet's made out of, because you do have the flattening effect. You also have
okay. If I'm shooting an addy bullet, because I did make addy
basically a steel bullet,
then
or steel jacketed round,
right through you.
Are we going to start playing around?
Who asked the question?
It was Crafting Gamer.
So can we start playing around then with millimeters of effective millimeters of penetration on versus armor, so that way we start figuring out what advanced materials start doing when you start crafting armors with composites and various more advanced forms of protection, to the point where my bullet will punch through the half a millimeter, the millimeter or half a millimeter of steel that is the plate armor, but how much armor can I start having players start? I've had this exact same conversation with people who are like, and where it might as well be going. So the 30-06 round has a penetration value of this versus this many millimeters at this range. So what if I make that armor out of mithril, but make it in that thickness? Or, well, mithril is very hard to get. That's very, very rare material. Okay, then I'm going to figure out the material qualities and start doing metallurgy. And players start figuring out armor thickness. And at that point, I go, fuck it. Do you really just want to have Category 4 ballistic plate? Yes. All right. Category 4 ballistic plate. Got it. You just want. I want to. Like, they're like, I want to like, and I want a ballistic shield. And suddenly people are going. And at that point, armor starts to come back. Like, if you had people who looked at it and went, I don't want to die. And mostly because I had players who looked at certain Australian bank robbers wearing giant armored suits and bouncing bullets and going, I want to be that. And I'm like, well, shit. How can you do that?
Right, hold on really quick. Kai, before they hung the Australian guy that you're talking about, you know what his last words were before they hung him?
Tell me.
Such is life.
Right. But
so I also ran, a lot of the material out of Iron Kingdoms because for me it was new at the time. We're talking 2001, 2002, 2003 time frame. So I had also had the magic armor, and magic with a K armor out of here in the game as well. So yes, you could have arcane powered chest or breastplate, and it would help protect you from bullets. But if you took a direct hit across a flat section of plate, that's all she wrote. And as far as I would actually run damage or armor as damage reduction, not as armor or defense rating. And honestly, that's one of the biggest changes in the steampunk game that I run is armor is not helping you with defense. It's going to limit how much damage you take, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to help you that much. Even if you were to have an armored greatcoat plus chainmail, okay, you're reducing your total intake damage by maybe 5 at the most.
5 is a lot. 5 is a lot.
5 is a lot at low levels, not so much at higher levels. When guns are enchanted to do 20, 30, 40 points of damage.
When you have a gun that has the ability to shoot a bullet that has fireball basically in a bullet, your armor is not
mage bullets.
Dick.
Yep.
I understand that. That's what you need.
Or lightning.
We are now going into the arms race between offense and defense, and this is a fun game, but not for here.
Well, one of my favorite spells when you're doing a steampunk situation, you're going through 3.5, especially 3.5. There's this wonderful spell. Oh, you have your component who is head to tail, looks like Ned Kelly, and none of his armor is magical, but he is a walking tank. Disrobe.
Right.
Oh man, that spell.
But here's the thing. A lot of those spells are higher level spells. Now imagine that Ned Kelly concept, but don't put it on a guy who's a low level bank robber. Now imagine a guy who's of equivalent creativity to the player who has the higher level spells. So when you start throwing around fireball, lightning bolt, meteor swarm, high level spells, that's fantastic. Now imagine somebody who's matching that ingenuity and that creativity, but of similar capacity to the wizard. Yeah, wizard sounds awesome if he's the only one who's awesome in the room. But suddenly a guy who's maybe he's put in the thought of, I've put elemental dampeners in the armor. I've worked on the composites. I have an auto injector that sits there and, after I take damage, it senses that I'm injured and then shoots me up. AKA, I scream and it goes, oh, I sense blood, and it triggers the injector that kicks in and shoots the healing potion into him. Suddenly you now have, oh shit, wizard boy, what you gonna do? Oh, and he only has one magical weapon, and that is a non-magical gun that fires an anti-magic bullet. And suddenly your wizard, and suddenly your faggoty ass little wizard gets hit with. I have protection from. Oh shit! This bullet went through all my magical defenses. Oh crap! Now I have an anti-magic spell in my chest. What the fuck? How do I function? And the guy just wants to stab you with his bayonet now. Die, you deformed.
Okay. You anti-magic fucking have a bullet that has a silence put on it.
These are the things that you would think about like these are horrible things that we are considering possibly having to encounter that maybe your world's a nice world and you don't feel like fucking your spellcasters with a rake, tongs end first. You don't need to think about this, but sometimes your players might actually be dicks, and you might want to have this because I know I've had players who are like, can can I just have, an anti-magic field on a grenade, so I just roll it into the room and then fuck the spellcasters? Yes. And it's like,
I mean, I had someone get the brilliant idea. They weren't a magic caster, but they got the brilliant idea. They were in the Outlands, near the Spire. Actually, they were at the Spire. They broke parts of the stone of the Spire off because I didn't have any rules that the Spire was indestructible. I'd never even considered that someone would do this. But they took parts of the Spire from the Outlands and made bullets out of them.
mm-hmm.
And then fired them at spellcasters. It just ripped right through all the magical defenses.
Yeah, this one wasn't me. This one...
No, it wasn't you. No, it wasn't you. It was somebody else.
This sounds like
they got
No, it sounds like
they got the brilliant idea. Well, when the wizard said, "Hey guys, I can't cast next to this giant rock that reaches into infinity," the gunslinger's like, "Oh, why can't you cast? It's an effect of this giant, rock to infinity." He's like, "Oh, really? Yeah, I'm gonna take my I'm gonna take my adamantine pickaxe and I'm gonna go to town on this thing. I want I want like 5 pounds of the stone of whatever this material is, so I can make bullets out of it." I'm like, at the time as a game master, I'm like, yes, you can do that, but there's a problem. You can't start in an extra dimensional space. You can't, the wizard can't be within 10 feet of it. So it definitely
see a problem with this.
Right. It definitely changed the dynamic. It also shut down all his magic because he was carrying bullets of anti-magic.
Again, I don't see the problem with this.
Right.
You can't target me with magic now.
So beyond weaponry, like advancements of weaponry or the ineffectiveness of armor against such weaponry, what are the hallmarks that you showcase in your steampunk game?
Ooh.
Like what can players expect when they sit down to play your steampunk game? What can they expect in theme, not just theme or like what the scenery is like, but the kind of missions or jobs they go on, the kind of experiences they might have?
Ooh. Honestly, at this point, pacification, exploration. I go see what's over the next hill. Go into the dark continent and go find out what's there. We need bodyguard. We need people to go with this expedition to the bottom of the deepest part of the ocean, or onto the Arctic, or into the center of the world, into the Underdark. Because now we can go. That's right, Drow. You're not safe anymore. Smurf Nevlin, you ain't safe. Now we're going. And then you find out the Drow still eat you, because that's what they do. And Smurf Nevlin still laugh at you funny, and then eat you. And the Underdark still eats you. It's beautiful. But no, I think it's a lot more travel and a lot more weird, like not weirdness, or perhaps weirdness. Perhaps the idea, it's just simply a strange, it's a strange but familiar world. It is the world of H.P. Lovecraft. It is the Cthulhu mythos. It is the idea that the scary things are starting to creep in, or you're creeping into the scary places. It's not simply the dark woods anymore. It's, oh hey, we're hiring you because one of our trains disappeared. Go find it. So it's no longer I lost my ass. Help me find my ass. Donkey fucking drivers. It's now go find this weird thing, or some explorer goes, it's pretty much the same adventure, but it's different in a way. I can't really figure on it. Anyone else want to jump into this one? I'm sorry.
Well, and when you're talking about that, you're also thinking about not only with the other races, but you're also looking at, the vampires and werewolves and things along those lines also.
Oh my.
We'll start also moving toward, kind of that, mage or not mage, the masquerade, where now they need to be a little bit more, uh, deceptive and a little bit more behind the scenes so that they don't get, hunted down and just destroyed. Some of them are going to screw up, of course. It's going to happen. But that's where, if you want to think about, other like gaming systems kind of plug in, that's another one you can easily plug in. You're looking at the masquerade, also, just the normal werewolf. Those are others that you can kind of plug in also, where the werewolves are getting more in touch with nature as this industrial age starts to go and polluting the ecosystem, and how they're going to kind of help stop that. How are they going to protect the planet? And on the other side, you also have the like the vampires. They have to keep everything kind of in the background. They have to start using intermediaries. They've got to start using all these different things. And then you also have like mage, where the mages are now starting to start taking the knowledge of the arcane maybe a little bit more underground, because and I'm gonna touch on Flades here, that spells would be lost during the Industrial Revolution, mass production. That could definitely happen, and that is where you can actually plug Mage, like Mage the Ascension or something along those lines into it, where okay, these are the people that know those spells, and they are preserving the heritage of the use of magic. There are still magic out there, but some of it's been lost, and they have to preserve it. So, I mean, when you start thinking about things like this is other ways that you could actually bring, other gaming systems into it.
I didn't go far enough into a campaign I was trying to homebrew, but I've always in my head I've always basically tapped dragons with the source of magic. Once the last dragon disappears off the face of whatever planet that you're running, magic stops. All magic, spells, magic abilities, everything that has to do anything with magic. It just cities fall out of the sky, so forth and so on. So the next evolution in technology would be steampunk.
Could you also see a desperate bid to either preserve the last dragon or resurrect him, or I could actually see almost a 40K-esque, the last dragon on a golden throne being fed the last wizard, a bunch of low-level wizards every single day to keep feeding the dragons, dead, keep its soul bound to its corpse while you're like barely alive, like the wizards. We need magic. The world needs magic. Just keep feeding bodies to the golden throne with the dragon. Let me die. No, we need this. And it's that horrible dystopian mentality of all these wizards, it's like trainloads of nascent spellcasters being funneled off to the dragon's lair to be fed to the machine that keeps the dragon clinging to life. I love this horrible idea. I want to run this world. It sounds terrible. I want to be in it.
I tell you what, if we can ever get together, I'll run a variation for you. In the dragon's not being fed wizards; it's in a coma, so they have to grind up the magic.
That's
and
what I mean.
magic.
Some horrifying Jules Vernean steampunk abomination where all these poor nascent casters are being fed into the machine every day, just leeching their life force, so that way this poor dragon that only wants to die can stay alive, so the world continues to have magic. This is a horrible world. I love the idea of it.
I was trying to run a variation of that, but yeah, I don't know. I'm the same guy last night. It's like, how do you stop a deity from having followers? Cast mass amnesia. So
That's an interesting way of doing it. Or you need to just launch a horrifying. No, there's ways of doing this. Give me some time. I'll figure out how to do this. I need to go talk to my evil counterpart in crime. We'll figure out how to raise God.
Anyways, that'll be nice. Oh my god! So we spent the last hour and change talking about the wonders of steampunk. If you guys are not excited in chat for Kai's campaign and he's going to run into 2 shots, I don't know what's wrong with you. I think most of us have a general idea of what we're going to play for his campaign, and a few things I've heard are, I think are going to be really cool, and I hope chat has a good time watching our shenanigans.
Watching me fail.
It can't be any worse than my
don't talk like that.
So
I've been throwing random stuff into our private chat for a while now, so
I've noticed.
No. More reading.
Hey,
I had my microphone muted there. Kai, the only way you're going to fail is if you be like Bruce and be like, we'll get back to these guys some other time. Talk to you later. Thanks for watching.
Bye. Look, if you read my trade document, you'll find out I put way too much thought into how much needed to maintain a trade railroad car. Yes, I spent a lot of time researching trades, so that way
in your steampunk world, do you have like a little sweatshop of baby wizards that are just pumping out they're just draining the ooze of sweat out of these sweatshop to make the magical arms and armory?
Do you want the answer to that right now?
I think I know the answer.
Go ahead. Say it live. Do it live.
Yes. In fact, there's a goblin and gnome who maintain this horrifying sweatshop inside of a converted pyramid. That's not too far from where I'm going to have the city. It's literally a giant fortress factory where people go in. Yep. Nobody questions this. No one questions the eerie glowing green pyramid over there that produces all of our currently discounted magical weapons and arms.
So is this game going to be based in Memphis with their pyramid or Michigan with their burning lake? I'm kind of confused here.
Think it's going to be set in. Think of a city that's kind of like San Francisco, but more horrifying. Like where you actually have a borderline Aztec Necron pyramid over there that glows green and occasionally shoots belching fires of green fire in there. But don't worry, that's where our discount magic items come from for dirt cheap.
Oh, and Flighty, the Harry Potter house elves weren't elves. Technically, by mythos, they would have been brownies, but no one wants to say brownies.
But yeah, it's like, so yes, there is definitely a place where lots of low-level wizards go off to,
Disappear.
and low-level casters go off and disappear. They're being employed. They're hired. Their paychecks are cashed, and they go to their families.
Is it one of those company towns where they give them a particular type of money that they could only spend in their shops and nowhere else?
No. It's definitely in Republic dollars. It really is. It's in lira. Don't worry about it. The money spends just fine.
You know what I'm hearing. I hear we're screwed.
Hey. It is a goblin and a gnome who are working together to build a horrifying factory. What do you expect? So yes, a pair of robber barons who are a goblin and gnome run a horrible factory that gobbles up people and spits out wonderful cheap items that everyone likes. But don't worry, you'll see that in the distance. It's not where you're going to be at, unless you choose to go in there and decide to kick in the door and free all the casters. I don't know if you want to do that or not. I mean, do you feel like being revolutionaries? I mean, you can. I'm not going to stop you. Actually, no, I probably will stop you with the police. But don't worry, you're better than the police. You're the Victorian Guard. What do you need to worry about the mundane magistrates? They're not going to stop you. Nor will the army. Nor will the Colonial Defense Forces. Nor will the police. The local National Guard. I mean, you're technically part of them, and kinda in a way. I mean, technically, you're still a branch of the a branch of the military. Kinda, not really. I mean, don't worry about it. It's all good. The president says you're okay. Here's your seal of approval. He'll pardon your crimes.
You know, I sent you something personally just for you on Discord on our private chat. When you get a chance, Kai, listen to it. You'll agree.
Will. It will. I only call it San Francisco because it's a massive and the city is literally called Grand Harbor. It's a massive port town that is rimmed with ridges and mountains around it, so that way, and it's built into a plain. Geography is closest thing you could say is San Francisco. Is it there? No. I could just say it's an eastward facing. No, it's not Trieste. No, that's What town am I thinking of here? One moment. Blaine is being very, very weird. He just wants to quote the right town because dumb logic. Go to Europe. What
was that name of that place?
Yeah, Toronto. So it's like if you want to think of it as a city like Toronto, that's not Canada, but as in like Italy. That's also a fitting city description for what this place is.
Can we just like start an inn in a small island named Tortuga? I mean, just
no,
be a little bit.
No, because the pirates of my world are a combination of trolls and giant cats. No, you don't want to be part of the pirates. Okay?
Are they like Don Carnage?
Yes.
I hate this.
Yes.
Oh.
Don Carnage.
Well, I tried, because who doesn't want to see steampunk pirates?
Look, the steampunk pirates in my world are a combination of giant cats and trolls who are not really trolls, but more like the Gamelins from Satoshi Yamato. So elegant, culture, kind of intelligent, and actually intelligent. So if World of Warcraft trolls were actually civilized and not speaking like a bunch of Jamaicans, and kind of have a mentality of, oh, no, we're awesome. Plus, I really wanted to have a leader who likes to drink wine from a cup while blowing away innocent people. I'm okay with this. Anyway, it's getting late. Can we wrap this up now?
Yes.
Sounds like a reasonable request. There's been 2 times started talking, my fucking mic was shut off.
We should have him host more often. This was brilliant. Yeah, yeah.
I'm terrible at this. You don't want those.
I'm terrible at this. Best episode ever.
I was about to say, I learned more in an hour and a half conversation with you than I've known about you since I started hanging out with you guys. Best show ever.
Wow. All my secrets have been given up. What will I do?
Make more.
That's not how it works.
So, okay. Kai, not this Sunday, but possibly next Sunday, me and you are going to go check out a movie.
That's right. It actually sounds entertaining now. So, this might not be as bad as I thought it was going to be. But
there's
yes,
a few other people in town I'm trying to browbeat into joining us.
I have at least one other friend who will be joining us too.
No.
I have more friends than. Okay, I don't have a lot of friends.
No. I'm telling Connell no.
Oh, okay.
It's all right. I'll talk to his wife. We'll make it work.
I hope you guys enjoyed our panel tonight. We had a little bit of we had some long explanations there. I definitely want to go deeper on steampunk, especially if Khymerion is going to be willing to explain things. I think that's going to be awesome.
Look, I am not the captain. I am the guy. I'm the helmsman. Just you point me in a direction, and I will steer the ship.
Okay.
As long as your name is not Riker, you can sell any ship. I'm just throwing that out there.
No.
Connell.
Jenna Troy crashes ships. Riker flies them.
Connell, what is your Sunday adventure movie going to be?
Actually, this Sunday, because it is a holy day of hide the ham and eat the eggs. Wait, I got that wrong. We're actually not doing anything. I might see if I can find a few other family-less bastards out there like myself. See if I could do some kind of show on Sunday. I don't know what I'm going to do on Sunday, but I know. Let's see. I know next week we'll be hanging out with Kai. Kai is DMing us through his Steampunk Madness of the Steampunk. But I got really nothing going on. I might try to fit in a live chat at some point. But the following Sunday we'll be doing El Cid, which is a Charles Heston's movie.
Classic.
Good movie.
Then following that coming up, it is the month of April, which I've been saying this every time on stream. It is Shadow's birthday. And every time I bring this up, I will be saying happy birthday until I actually say it on the right day, and he just won't tell any of us. But for his birthday, we will be doing Westerns. So a few of us have our Western movies picked out. You're going to be looking at young gentleman Jack has picked out Blazing Saddles, which is a Mel Brooks classic. I picked out Serenity because it's cowboys in space.
Very cowboys.
I think Omenau has picked out Magnificent Seven. Shadow.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Out?
Oh yeah, it is.
Westworld.
That's right. That's right. We still haven't quite figured out what Mark's going to pick out. So for the month of April, look forward to hanging out with us on Sunday as we will be turning these Western classics into sci-fi RPGs or just normal RPG games. That's what we'll be talking about.
Connell, have you ever watched the movie, either one, the Gary Cooper version or the Christian Bale version, 3:10 to Yuma?
I've seen both. I like the Christian Bale version better.
Okay. That kind of surprises me. I really like the Gary Cooper version, but the Christian Bale, Russell Crowe version is still pretty good too. Ben Foster is just fucking excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Shadow, you've been doing a lot of videos lately.
Not as many as before, but we're trying to get back to our old schedule.
Your audio sounds better.
I'm still on my old tablet. I can't get my new laptop to function properly on this tonight. You know, if I stream from my tablet, if I'm hosting the show, not a problem. But for some reason it will not join other people's shows right now. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Okay.
Maybe, but
now I'm hearing a few pops and wheezes. Okay.
yeah. Max was complaining about it yesterday too. The same old crappy tablet, but it works.
Yeah,
Not great, but it works.
It'll do. Once you get that fixed out, and I have a feeling you'll be fixed up on Sunday. You gonna focus on anything big?
We're doing a Wild West month, all month long. Lots of crafts, lots of reviews, some games you guys probably never heard of. At least one game Jaide really, really wants in his collection. And, some of the classics, some others that you probably never heard of, but all Wild West.
I didn't know that existed until you showed it to me last night after the stream ended.
I think I know where I
need
get
to find a
another
copy.
I think I know
What
where
are
I
you
can
find
talking
a
about, Jade?
One of my all-time favorite animes is Trigun, and there is an anime or an RPG of Trigun. I need to
Yes,
find a copy in print.
It's actually a big eye, small mouth D20 version.
It also has,
Even
it
better.
also has tri-stat rules in the back of it, which are actually usable.
Even better. I need to find me a copy of that.
If I've got a copy, I'll let you have it. If I still have it.
How much do you want for it?
Free? You can have it.
What?
I mean, you're my friend. Why not?
Jesus,
Okay.
Mary and Joseph.
I mean, I'll take it. But
And if he doesn't have it, you can get a copy of it for $11.10 or best offer on eBay from Canada.
Yeah.
Or if you don't want to do that, you can get it for $34.99 on eBay as well. There's $24
So
the best
just-
offer.
Don't go to Amazon.
I will find
They're
a copy.
running 150.
I will find a copy.
Yeah, there's a
I will
bunch of
find a
copies
copy.
on it.
No worries.
I gotta
Cool.
figure out where it's buried at. I'm sorry. It's in a box upstairs probably, but I still have it. But if I have it, sure. Go ahead.
Is it the same one I just showed off?
Let's get it. Yeah. It's that one.
Cool.
And if I still have it, that's the problem. I have things that are scattered out to the four winds and things disappeared. So if I still have
Arigato
it,
gozaimashita.
no problem. You're welcome.
All right. Well, Baron G-Rock, what are your new releases looking like on the upcoming schedule?
Well, right now I've kind of got things on hold, just because I'm trying to figure out. And as I told you guys last week, I didn't tell everybody, but I'm still trying to figure out this trip to Romania in September. So I've got most of it figured out. I've got it to the UK portion figured out. Me and my friends are trying to figure out the UK to actually Romania. We don't know if we're going to fly or drive. So it could be interesting to see. And that week it will depend on what internet looks like and whatnot. And, if I will be available. Of course, it'll be like 2 or 3 in the morning when I'm over there, but we shall see.
You'll have fun, and you'll find out that Europe doesn't have the same miserable schedule as America does. Like, if you decide to go out, you're going to bump into these things called discotheques, which are kind of like Tech Noir in the old movie Terminator, but instead of it closing whenever there's a gunshot that happens or lots of gunfire or the magical hour of 2 a.m. happens, this will stay open till like 6 a.m. And this is all over the community. Discotheques are like that in Europe. It's different.
I doubt that's going to happen, because if we wind up driving, it'll be my buddy and his girlfriend. So I doubt that's going to work.
Eat these pills. Now listen to this bad Euro trash music. Now dance.
Dance!
Make a video.
I want you to have
dance.
I want you to have a Euro trip movie adventure.
Well, to be honest,
I thought you said you were a friend.
I truly am considering, especially if we do the drive, is definitely doing like a vlog style type thing. It's going to be cut up over probably 2 or 3 episodes, but that will actually go on the channel, because that's actually But I'm going over there because a friend of mine in one of the other Discords I'm in is getting married, and he is from Romania. So he works as a urologist in Germany, but he's originally from Romania. So he's getting married back in the old country, as he put it.
Well, I would recommend at least being around an environment like that one time, because you'll never get that here. Even in San Antonio or New York City or Los
New
Angeles,
York City.
yeah, you're not going to get that there. So anyway, I'm just recommending that. Before we go, does anybody have anything else they need to add?
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy Passover
Have
for our Shalom friends. Happy Good Friday for you tomorrow if you are going to celebrate as such. And if not, have a great Friday. Easter
Yes,
weekend is this weekend for our Christian
it's
friends.
almost over.
And for those of you that are just chocolate addicted, well, Monday is coming. All the sales too. Discount.
You better get up bright and early. I'm just saying.
If not, Shadow will beat you there and get it all.
No, they beat me to that punch.
Listen, I'm just excited that there's a CVS within a third of a mile from where I live. So if I can get up at like 6 a.m., I can get over there as the last discount tag is put on Chocolate Jesus. And yeah, it'll be a great day.
Yeah, my son was kind of weirded out when he saw those chocolate crucifixes.
What the fuck? Really?
Yep. That's the thing.
I do know for Easter if I do anything, it'll be later YouTubing. But for Easter, I am cooking rabbit.
Boil them, mash them, put them in a stew. Okay.
I'm thinking nice. I'm thinking a nice rabbit stew go over very nicely.
All right. We are out. Everybody, have a great weekend. Bless you. Have a fantastic time with your family. Look forward to seeing you on Friday evening over at Legion of Myth channel. It's going to be spicy. 3, 2